Okay, here in this mini lecture we continue in chapter 2 with part 3 where we extend verbs but we also talk about conjunctive adverbs. So we've talked about verbs in chapter 1. We talked about simple past, present verbs. We talked about future. We even talked about some perfect tenses. All of the verbs we've talked about and most of the sentences we've looked at are active voice sentences. Sentences like the one you can see on your screen. Steve passed the potatoes. So in this sentence, Steve is the subject. Steve is the actor. He's the one doing this action. You may have gotten a comment from a teacher, from an English teacher, that says, too many of your sentences are written in the passive. And what they're trying to advise you to do is to place the subject, place the focus of your action, the focus of your writing in the subject position. So again, Steve passed the potato. Steve is the subject. So in the three sentences at the bottom, we have the lovely bride walked down the aisle. Again, the bride is the one doing this action. Carol and her friend visited the museum. Again, the subject of this sentence is the actor, is the one doing something. And then the same in the third sentence, the police officer pursued. The officer is doing the action. The passive voice changes that pattern though. So if you look at these sentences, mistakes were made, the milk was left out overnight, the garbage was not taken out. Right, those two sentences in particular, the milk was left out, the garbage was not taken out. Those are sentences that I use. Why would I use those? Well, you can notice in those two sentences that the person who didn't do this, or actually the person who did leave the milk out, that person is not included in the sentence, right? So the passive voice allows us to hide the agent, allows us to hide the person that's doing it. Right, so we can see on the right side, this is from a business. In this second sentence, the business person has written, in this case, mistakes were made. Mistakes were made. What that sentence fails to say is who made the mistakes. All right, so that's the usefulness of the passive voice, is that it allows the subject, the real actor, the person who did the thing, to be hidden. So how is that formed then? So we can see in this example we have the active sentence in the first one. The instructor emailed the students. So again, this is the active sentence where the instructor is the one who did this action. So the instructor plus a past verb, emails, plus the object, the students. So the students receive the action. They receive the email. So in the transformation, the object of the active sentence becomes the subject. So in this second one, we see the students were emailed by the instructor. So notice in the second sentence, the students did nothing. The students are not the ones completing the action. To form the passive, we have a be verb. So the be verb is am, is, are, was, and were. And then we add a participle, emailed, right? So here we have the ed participle, and then by the instructor. In the passive voice, you can add a by phrase. The students were emailed by the instructor. You can't do that in the active voice. So let's look at a few of these. So my car was hit yesterday. Can you add a by phrase? My car was hit by someone yesterday. So yes, you can add a by phrase. So that means that is passive. So again, in that first one, we have the be verb was plus the participle hit. In the second one, the flat tire was fixed yesterday. So we don't know who fixed the tire, right? The flat tire was fixed by the mechanic yesterday. So again, that's passive. We have the be verb was plus the participle fixed. In the third example, we have the door was left open. Again, who left the door open? We don't know. So yes, this is passive again because we have a be verb plus a participle. So again, that the by phrase, when you add that to the passive, the by phrase tells you who did the action. So one way that I like to remember this is if you can say by zombies immediately after the verb. So if you can put that after the verb, then it must be a passive sentence. So if we try to test that, the car was damaged by zombies. Sure, that works. So that must be passive in 1. James hit by zombies his neighbor's car. No, that doesn't work. So 2 is an active sentence. James is the one that did this. All of the sandwiches were eaten by zombies. That seems like something some zombies would do. That adding that by zombies phrase works perfectly. The students turned by zombies in their papers. No, doesn't work in 4, so 4 is active. 9 teams remain undefeated by zombies. No, that's not really passive either. The test might be moved to Thursday. The test might be moved by zombies to Thursday. So in number 6, we do have a passive. So here we have a few more sentences. We can apply that test. So take a moment, read through those. I'll give you a few moments to answer those. So in number 1, the president vetoed the bill. The president is clearly the person who completed this action. The president vetoed by the zombies. That does not work. So number 1 is an active sentence. The prize was awarded by the committee. The prize was awarded by zombies. That is a passive sentence. Again, we have the be verb was plus the participle awarded. His car was ticketed by zombies. Absolutely. So this is passive. Again, be verb was plus participle ticketed. The barista put too much caramel on my drink. The barista is the person who did this. You cannot say the barista put too much by zombies, right? That doesn't work. We postponed the assignment. Again, we are the ones who did this. We are the actor. So number 5 is an active sentence. Okay, so moving on to conjunctive adverbs. I sometimes refer to these as linking adverbs. This happens often in grammar textbooks where one grammar textbook refers to a group of words with one term and another book uses another. Here's one example of that where many books I've used in the past use the word linking adverbs. However, our book prefers conjunctive adverbs. So if I say linking adverb, conjunctive adverb, I am talking about the same thing. So these linking adverbs conjoin or link sentences. So words such as however, therefore, in addition, moreover, besides, for example, for instance, furthermore, therefore, all of those are conjunctive adverbs. So how do you punctuate conjunctive adverbs? There are really 3 ways to do this. So in the first sentence, in the first example, we have the conjunctive adverb therefore. They won their division, period, therefore, comma, they are entering the playoffs. If a sentence begins with a conjunctive adverb, it must be followed by a comma. So always therefore, comma, however, comma. Always conjunctive adverbs at the beginning of a sentence must be followed by a comma. In the second one, the test was critical. James, however, forgot to study. In this example, however is inserted in the middle of an independent clause. Because it is in the middle of an independent clause, it is divided with the commas on both sides. All right. This is in contrast to number 3, where however actually divides two independent clauses. Right. So here in number 3, the test was critical, semicolon, however, comma, James forgot to study. So remember, an independent clause has a subject and a verb and can stand alone. The test was critical, subject and a verb can stand alone. James forgot to study, subject and a verb can stand alone. So that's powerful, right? I mean, you've just learned how to successfully use semicolons in your writing. So use the semicolon with a conjunctive adverb when you are connecting two independent clauses. So if we look at number 1 here, this is from your textbook. So let's look first, and we can see that I learned French in Africa. As a result, my French is different from the French spoken in France. So we need to determine how many clauses. So we have I learned French in Africa. That is one independent clause. Conjunctive adverb, as a result, comma, my French is different from the French spoken in France. So again, we use a semicolon because we are conjoining two independent clauses. If you punctuate these, the weather was terrible on Sunday, period. So, comma. So can be a linking adverbial or a conjunction. In this sentence, it is used as a linking adverbial, right? So, comma, we weren't able to go to the beach. Therefore, comma, we weren't able to go to the beach. Thus, comma. So again, if the conjunctive adverb starts the sentence, must have a comma. The food was delicious, however, the service was poor. In this example, however, joins two independent clauses. So this should be the food was delicious, semicolon, however, comma, the service was poor. Again, this is because we're joining two independent clauses. In 3, however, is inserted in the middle of an independent clause. So therefore, we have comma and comma. The service, comma, however, comma, was poor. In number 4, the service was poor, comma, however. Thus, comma, I'm not certain if I'll be able to attend class. So that is all for part 3 of this mini lecture.